Alright, good morning, good Tuesday morning to y'all. Hope y'all are having a good day. Hope y'all have had a good weekend, especially good Super Bowl weekend. I know I did, so man, I just don't know what else to say. I was actually going to cut a video here talking about that, but I'm honestly not sure what I want to say about that, so maybe I still do that, but I'll probably be more later in the day along with some other stuff. But for now, we're going to actually just hop right into things. And of course, we got to talk a little bit about Keith Lee here, as it's reported he was actually backstage for Dynamite recently. Really interesting given the nature of the main topic of this video, but honestly, I felt like he'd have been amongst the aforementioned topic in terms of wanting to ask for a release from AEW, but I'm not sure if that's the case. Maybe that's why he was backstage. I don't know. I mean, nothing was publicly revealed about that to my knowledge as of yet, but it's just real interesting to see he's amongst the names, as I'm about to mention, who just haven't been on TV for quite some time. And if we're being perfectly honest here, this definitely has been one of the bigger flops as far as the WWE releases from. Really, it was just around or a little bit after the pandemic era, but yeah, it's just unfortunate to see how a lot of these things have turned out, especially when it comes to AEW. Like I said, we'll be talking about that here in a little bit, but this one's going to be really interesting to see what happens here, because if they actually get him going on TV, I'd like to know how they plan on doing that, and really for a variety of reasons. I mean, you got so much going on, and if we could actually just get some consistency as far as the booking is concerned, you know, having Keith Lee on TV would go a really, really long way for AEW. I don't think there's any denying that at this point, but there's no real way of knowing. I mean, I guess we'll find out in the coming days, weeks, so on and so forth, but for now, here's to hoping we see Keith Lee on TV sometime sooner than later. But for now, we'll move on from that. And speaking of a name that we haven't seen a lot on TV, Abaddon. She actually had a post on X, which she simply said the word extended, which I find really, really interesting. I mean, again, haven't seen her much on TV for AEW, but she has been appearing on Ring of Honor. I'm not really sure how frequently, as I haven't been keeping up with Ring of Honor as closely, other than, you know, what they tell us on Dynamite and Collision and so forth. But either way, I found this really, really interesting because, again, we're talking yet another name that, if on TV, could go a really, really long way for AEW. And I think we're starting to work up a bit of a theme here, and I guess it's just appropriate that I'm talking about this in such a way with, again, the main topic that we'll be getting into here shortly. Really, I think it's a real miss not having Abaddon on. Of course, unlike Keith Lee and the other names, well, most of the other names that I'm about to mention, they're not WWE refugees, or at least formally at one point. Or at least Abaddon isn't. I don't know how I worded that, but anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that she's literally homegrown talent that really and truly, that's kind of where we're at this point. I think it's got to be about the originals. I mean, they tried getting things going with Orange Cassidy getting his title shot against Jon Moxley a number of months ago. They've been working to get Darby Allin going, but he's currently out of action, so there's no realistic way of anything happening from that. And then, of course, you got Cope, who looks to be challenging for the AEW World title. I don't think he's going to wind up winning it, but I would think it'd be pretty cool if he did. But all the same, this is someone that we need to be seeing on TV at some point. It's one thing if she's actually helping with Ring of Honor, I can understand that, and I totally respect that. But all the same, I mean, we got to start doing some things to inject some new life into Dynamite. I mean, Collision has actually been pretty good in recent weeks. Dynamite, just as a whole, over the last few weeks, I can't really say a whole lot of good about it. I mean, it's just really, really tough, and I hate that being the case. I just really need that to change one way or another. And who knows? Maybe it comes down to Ring of Honor getting that TV deal. Who knows? But yeah, things have got to change, and they've got to be on the up a lot sooner than later, more than anything else. Which is why it's important to get back Keith Lee and maybe even Abaddon. But if they're able to get this individual here, this could also go a long way. Nixon Newell, of course, we talked about her, formerly known as Tegan Knox with WWE. She's completely clear of her 90-day no compete clause from a release from WWE, as we'll be seeing with the others that we talked about the other day. My only thing with her is, I gotta say this along the same lines with what I said about the women, and hell, some of the men too. But really and truly, this is one opportunity that I don't know if Tony Khan can afford to just fail on. You got an incredible wealth of talent in that women's division. I mean, we're starting to see Megan Bayne. Of course, she's going after Thunder Rosa as indicated on Collision. Of course, we've got the whole storyline probably coming to a head between Toni Storm and Mariah May here with Grand Slam Australia. And then, of course, you got Mercedes defending the TBS title against Harley Cameron, which I imagine she's probably going to win that, or Mercedes going to win that one. But at the same time, it's going to go a long way for Harley, and you just got to build these women up. You bring Nixon Newell in, I think that's got to help, but you got to utilize her accordingly. And there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that, because you can't keep just bringing in all this WWE talent. I talked about Cope earlier, and just not utilizing them to the best of their ability. And it can't just be Cope either. It can't just be Ricochet. It can't just be, I'm trying to think of who else just came in, not just Mercedes. Somebody else they just brought in not all that long ago. I love how I do that. Guess it wouldn't be a video if I didn't, but nonetheless, whoever I'm thinking about, we've seen, oh yeah, the Hurt Syndicate. That's who I'm thinking about. There's just no excuse at this point. There's absolutely no fucking excuse whatsoever, and Tony Khan, let's get this shit going. Especially because now with all that being the case, we got to talk about the big three as far as the AEW departures, and we all know about this by now. Ricky Starks, Malachi Black, and Miro are now no longer a part of AEW. Malachi Black's contract actually ended as of, I believe, yesterday. As they said, it was either yesterday or I believe Sunday. But either way, he's free and clear and can appear anywhere that he wants to. Same is true for both Miro and Ricky Starks. So, fortunately, in this situation, no 90-day non-compete. I'm going to work on getting that one a lot cleaner. But anyway, it's just going to be pretty cool. I mean, these dudes actually probably could have been on Raw last night, but they weren't, obviously. Any or maybe even all three of them could appear on NXT for all I know. Or maybe we're saving them for Friday night. I mean, it's possible, and the thing about it is that you don't even necessarily have to have all three for SmackDown at all. You really don't, because you could actually set it up to where you bring in two of the three. I'm going to imagine the likelihood would probably be Malachi and maybe Ricky Starks. But then you do a video package for Miro. I guess he may be going by Rusev again. But you could just bring in the two of the three, do a video package for the one that doesn't show up. Or maybe all three do. Who knows? But either way, it's a really good setup. You could also save them for WrestleMania for all that's worth. I mean, really, it depends. I mean, nothing has actually been confirmed as far as any signings or any contract details, any of that yet. as far as where WWE and these three individuals are concerned. But one thing that I will say is certain is that expect all three of them to be in WWE. Even if it's perhaps Ricky just going right to NXT and then the other two going to SmackDown. I mean, you can't go wrong either which way you slice it up. I think that you just got win, win, win. You could pretty much have Jameis Winston hitting them up with the W cookies 3 times. And that's really all that you need to say about that. But, all that being said, I just don't know any other way to put it. I'm looking forward to where all this is going to go. I mean, without a doubt in my mind, all three of them we get by WrestleMania or even Stand and Deliver in such cases, but who knows? We'll find out in the coming days, but with that in mind, that's where I'm going to leave it. And of course, let me know what y'all think. I mean, y'all gotta be looking forward to this, right? I know I am. So, yeah, just hit me up down in the comments section. Let me know what y'all are thinking. Y'all know what it is. Like, share, subscribe down below. This has been your time with A&J, and I appreciate you spending it with me.